You know that message we hear constantly, like, think big, live large, believe in yourself. It's everywhere.
It really is.
But what if that intense focus on ourselves, our ego, is actually the biggest thing holding us back?
That's exactly what we're digging into today. This deep dive is all about that powerful and, yeah, often unseen force, the ego.
Okay.
We're going to try and unpack how it subtly sabotages our potential. We're drawing a lot from sources like Ryan Holiday's book, The Ego is the Enemy.
Right, great source. So as we get into this, what's our main goal here? What should you, listening, hope to get from this conversation about ego?
Well, the mission really is to help distinguish between like genuine confidence and that destructive ego,
Okay.
and to highlight the pitfalls, the very real dangers of self-centered ambition, and ultimately, hopefully, discover some timeless strategies for cultivating, real sustainable success and growth.
That sounds crucial. So let's start right at the beginning. How are we defining ego here? Because like you said, it gets tossed around a lot, but the sources are pretty specific.
They really are. And here, it's way more than just feeling good about yourself. Ego is defined as an unhealthy belief in our own importance.
Unhealthy. Oh, wait.
Yeah, it's arrogance, it's that self-centered ambition. One source puts it as the sense of superiority and certainty that exceeds the bounds of confidence and talent.
Ah, exceeding the bounds.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's self-anointed, you declare it yourself, and it constantly needs external validation, those honors and awards, to feel real.
And that's the key difference from real confidence then. What does that look like without the ego driving it?
True confidence, the sources say, is earned. It's internal. It lets you focus on the task, the work itself, whether anyone's clapping or not.
Right.
It doesn't need the spotlight.
It's interesting, too, how our culture maybe feeds into the ego side of things. Like, we talk so much about building self-esteem, but could some approaches actually make us weaker?
It's a really interesting point the sources raise, how certain ways we parent or teach,
Yeah.
focusing maybe too much on just feeling good, building self-esteem without necessarily grounding it,
Yeah.
can actually make us kind of dependent on that validation. We might feel entitled, ruled by emotions, and it stops us from getting a clear, realistic picture of our actual abilities. So it can create fragility instead of strength.
So, okay, if ego isn't just some minor character flaw, how does this unhealthy belief actually cause problems? What are the, real-world impacts?
Oh, the sources are clear. Ego is often a root problem. It gets in the way of having an honest connection to the world, to reality.
Oh, so?
It fosters delusion instead of accurate self-assessment. So you get this gap between who you think you are and who you actually are. And that gap, well, it prevents real success.
And that delusion, does that lead into this idea of being versus doing? I found that distinction really powerful.
Absolutely. It's easy to get caught up in the external stuff, right?
Yeah.
Recognition, office politics, titles. And your energy shifts from actually doing the work, earning it, to just appearing successful, projecting an image.
Ah, the appearance.
Yeah. And the source is stress. Impressing people is utterly different from being truly impressive. Think about Upton Sinclair's run for governor in '34. The focus on image arguably really hurt his campaign.
It's one thing to talk about it abstractly, but the sources give some really stark examples from history, don't they? Who stands out as illustrating ego's destructive side?
Oh, definitely. Take John DeLorean. He was absolutely convinced GM, with its structure and discipline, was holding him back.
Right, the car guy.
Yeah. So he goes out on his own, basically throws out the rule book, ignores conventional wisdom.
And the result?
Disaster. Massively over budget, dysfunctional company riddled with issues. The cars themselves were problematic. And it all ended, famously, with that cocaine arrest trying to finance the whole thing. Just pure ego-driven chaos.
Wow, that's quite the fall. Any others?
Well, there's Ty Warner, the Beanie Babies guy. Remember Beanie Babies?
Oh, yeah, the crate.
His arrogance became pretty blatant. He actually bragged, I could put the tie heart on manure and they'd buy it.
Ooh.
Yeah. And that kind of hubris, that certainty, came right before the whole thing imploded. He basically destroyed his own billion-dollar company because his ego blinded him.
And even figures we admire, like Ulysses S. Grant, war hero, president. But there's an ego angle there, too.
Absolutely. Elected president by a landslide. Huge mandate. But his administration became known for corruption, kind of ineffective. And then after leaving office, he got totally wiped out financially in a Ponzi scheme run by this guy, Ferdinand Ward. Died in pretty rough shape, battling cancer. It's a story of great highs, but also profound lows, potentially fueled by misplaced trust or overconfidence.
And then there's Alexander the Great, studied under Aristotle, brilliant strategist.
Yep.
But ego got him, too.
It seems so. Incredibly brave, strategically brilliant, yes. But he kind of ignored one of Aristotle's key lessons, the golden mean, virtue being the balance between extremes.
Like courage between cowardice and recklessness.
Exactly. Alexander just embodied this.
Yeah.
Undisciplined pursuit of more. Always more conquest, more land, untempered by maybe wisdom or restraint. And it likely led to his death super young, maybe even killed by his own men who were just exhausted by it all.
That constant drive for more.
Yeah, shows that more isn't always better.
And that undisciplined pursuit, it often turns into winning at all costs, doesn't it? We see that closer to our own time, too.
For sure. You look at figures like, say, Barry Bonds or Lance Armstrong in sports. That intense drive, when it's not balanced by humility or integrity, well, it can lead down a pretty dark path. Corruption, ruined reputations, the win feels hollow in the end.
It really sounds like after you get some success, maybe that initial innocent climb ego can really dig its claws in. Is there a name for that shift?
Yeah, the sources talk about what the famous basketball coach Pat Riley called the disease of me.
The disease of me.
Suddenly it's all about the awards, the money, the media attention. The focus shifts from the work itself to the trappings of success, driven by ego. Soccer coach Tony Adams had a great line. You play for the name on the front of the jersey, and they'll remember the name on the back. Ego flips that. It wants the name on the back remembered first.
And this brings us to a really fascinating point the sources make. That pride is essentially a lie, not just morally, but practically.
Exactly. It's not just about being arrogant. What's really damaging about pride, according to these insights, is how it actively blinds you.
Blinds you.
Yeah, it's like a strategic disadvantage. It literally narrows your vision. You miss things, opportunities, feedback, dangers that someone more humble, more open would just readily see.
Wow.
It warps your whole perspective, makes everything about you. You become self-obsessed, less able to learn, adapt, connect with people. Sometimes it even leads to this persecution complex, where everything feels like a personal attack. It's like an internal poison, really.
That's a powerful and pretty sobering way to put it.
Yeah.
So, okay, given how destructive ego can be, the big question is, how do we actually fight back? What are the antidotes? What practical things can we do?
Well, one of the absolute most critical things is embracing what you might call the student mindset. Always stay a student.
Always stay a student.
Yeah. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, nailed it. It is impossible to learn that which one thinks one already knows.
Right, if you think you know it all.
You're closed off. You have to be willing to be self-critical, even actively seek out tough feedback, the stuff that stings a little, if you want to keep growing.
Peter Drucker's ideas fit right in here too, don't they? About knowing how you learn.
Exactly. Drucker stressed understanding your own learning process and then, crucially, setting up ways to keep learning constantly.
Because learning never stops.
Never. As the physicist John Wheeler said, something like, as our island of knowledge grows, so does the shore of our ignorance. There's always more shore. If you're not learning, you're stagnating. You're essentially dying in terms of potential.
Oh, it's funny. You mentioned the student mindset, and one example the sources bring up is Genghis Khan. Not exactly the first person you think of for humility.
Right. Surprising. But he's presented as this incredible case study. Not a born genius, apparently, but a perpetual student.
How so?
His whole approach was about pragmatic learning, experimenting, adapting, constantly revising based on what worked. He learned how to win hearts and minds, not just battles. He even fostered things like religious freedom in his empire. And he actually warned his sons, if you can't swallow your pride, you can't lead. That's humility as a practical leadership tool.
And often, being that student means starting at the beginning, doing the less glamorous work.
Absolutely. The sources really emphasize that. Greatness comes from humble beginnings. It comes from grunt work. It means being okay with being the least important person in the room, maybe the least knowledgeable, until your results, your actual competence, change that. You earn your way up.
Okay, so the student mindset is key. What's another major antidote the sources highlight? They talk about purpose over passion.
Yes. This one's interesting because passion sounds so positive, doesn't it?
Totally. Follow your passion.
Right. But the argument is that passion can be, well, a bit flimsy. It can be a poor substitute for discipline, for actual skill, for perseverance.
Well, so?
Well, think about it.
Yeah.
Lots of people who fail are incredibly passionate. Passion is often about how you feel. It can be fleeting.
So if passion isn't the bedrock, purpose is. How's that different?
Purpose is described as being to and for something. It's about pursuing something outside of yourself. It puts the focus on function, on the task, on the mission, rather than on you and your feelings about it.
Can you give an example?
John Wooden, the legendary UCLA basketball coach, 10 championships. He wasn't known for fiery, passionate speeches.
Really?
No, his whole thing was about discipline, control, executing fundamentals perfectly,
Yeah.
doing your job for the team, for the system, not for personal glory. That was his purpose.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, and building on that idea of focusing outside yourself, there's this concept called the canvas strategy. What's that about?
Right, the canvas strategy, it's essentially about helping yourself by helping others succeed. Specifically, it means finding ways to clear the path for people who are ahead of you or more powerful than you. The Romans had a word for it, anti-ombolo, the guy who walked ahead to clear the way.
Huh. How does that help you?
Well, the idea is by making others look good, by supporting their success without needing credit, you actually end up creating opportunities and a path for yourself down the line. It's strategic humility, almost.
That requires serious restraint, though. Which brings us to another big antidote. Restraint and discipline. Jackie Robinson comes to mind immediately.
Well, absolutely. His story is just incredible. Breaking the color barrier in baseball, the amount of restraint he had to show was monumental.
Unbelievable.
He had to consciously put aside his ego, swallow insults, ignore provocations, even forego basic rights sometimes, all for the sake of the larger goal, the bigger plan. That's immense strength, not weakness. It shows power isn't always loud.
Such a powerful example. What about Bill Walsh, the football coach, his standard of performance?
Yeah. Bill Walsh took the San Francisco 49ers from being literally the worst team in the league, 2 wins and 14 losses.
Wow.
The Super Bowl champions in just 3 years. And his method wasn't some grand vision initially. It was this obsessive commitment to what he called his standard of performance.
Which meant?
Focusing on tiny, seemingly trivial details. How players dressed, how they practiced drills, absolute precision in everything. The idea was that excellence in the small things would build excellence in the big things.
Sort of like building blocks.
Exactly. Like investor Paul Graham said, the way to do really big things seems to be to start with deceptively small things. Keep your ego small. Make it about the work, the principles. The goal becomes being, as the source puts it, ambitious but patient, innovative without being brash, brave without being dangerous.
I love that balance. Okay, this leads to a concept that really resonated with me, the inner scorecard. What is that? Why is it so important against ego?
Ah, the inner scorecard. This is huge. Warren Buffett talks about this distinction. Are you measuring yourself against an external scorecard? Wins, money, recognition, what other people think.
Which is what ego craves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or are you measuring yourself against your inner scorecard, which is about your own potential, the best you're capable of being, regardless of the outcome of what anyone else says?
So it shifts the focus entirely inward.
Completely. Buffett says something like, winning is not enough. Anyone can win. Which is provocative, right?
Yeah.
But, he says, everyone can be the best possible version of themselves. That's the inner scorecard. It's about integrity, effort, living up to your own standards.
So it's more about personal excellence than just beating someone else.
Precisely. Remember John Wooden, the coach? His definition of success wasn't championships. It was peace of mind, which is a direct result of self-satisfaction in knowing you made the effort to do your best to become the best you are capable of becoming.
Peace of mind from effort.
Yeah. And Viktor Frankl, the psychiatrist who survived the Holocaust, talked about how we're pulled by values, not just pushed by drivers. It connects to that Greek idea of euthymia, tranquility.
Euthymia.
Basically focusing on your own path, doing your work well, without getting distracted or comparing yourself constantly to what others are achieving. It involves kind of ignoring successful people, as one source bluntly puts it, because external success can be deceiving. Focus on your own journey.
Okay, one last major area, adversity. How can facing hardship actually become an antidote to ego rather than something that crushes us? Robert Greene's idea of alive time versus dead time seems relevant here.
It's incredibly relevant. Alive time is when you're using difficult circumstances, maybe even confinement or failure, as an opportunity to learn, to act, to grow, to make progress, however small.
And dead time.
That's when you're just passively waiting, complaining, feeling sorry for yourself, letting time slip away without using it productively. Your choice between the two really reveals your character and how much ego is controlling you.
And the story of Malcolm X is such a powerful illustration of choosing alive time, isn't it?
It's profound. Think about him in prison, known then as Detroit Red. Objectively, a terrible situation, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But he turned it into his college. He chose a lifetime. He taught himself to read by painstakingly copying the entire dictionary by hand. He educated himself, transformed his mind, found a kind of freedom within prison through learning.
He transformed the experience.
Completely.
Yeah.
And it underlines what the sources say.
Right.
People learn from their failures. Seldom do they learn anything from success. There's an old Celtic saying, too. See much, study much, suffer much. That is the path to wisdom. Suffering, used correctly, can strip away ego.
Wow. Okay, so we've really journeyed through a lot here. We've seen how ego, this inflated sense of self-importance, can be this constant enemy, right? Blocking growth, leading to some epic failures.
Definitely. But we've also explored these really powerful antidotes. Things like humility, having a purpose bigger than yourself, constantly learning like a student, building that inner strength, and just committing deeply to the work itself.
And these aren't just, abstract ideas or stories about famous people long ago. These are critical tools for you listening right now to navigate your own ambitions, your own challenges.
Exactly. It prompts the questions. Are you more focused on being somebody or on doing something? Are you chasing that external scorecard, the applause, or are you genuinely trying to live up to your own potential, that inner scorecard?
And maybe consider that irony, it's almost like that O. Henry story, The Gift of the Magi, where
Yeah.
people make huge sacrifices for things that end up being not quite right in the end. We often spend so much energy chasing things we don't truly want or trying to impress people we don't even really respect. So the final thought is maybe. What are you missing right now? What opportunities, what insights, what connections might a slightly more humble version of you see?
That's a powerful question because ultimately your choices, how you spend your time and energy, that reflects your character. So how will you choose? What will you decide to truly build?